Hi everybody. I just wanted to make this short video so those of you who are enrolled in the online version of Lean Quadruple One are clear about how you need to access the online tutorial for this course. So yeah, the first important point about that, obviously most of you are new to studying at university, and so it's probably the first time you've taken an online course. For some online courses, absolutely everything that you need for the course is available so that you can access it at any time, and you never have to be in a particular place at a particular point in time, but you just access the content whenever you want to. Now, this is true for the lecture parts of this course, but for the online tutorial, you do need to be available on Thursdays between 1 and 2 p.m. So this is a tutorial that is on at a particular time. You've enrolled in that time, so you should be able to be available at that time. It doesn't matter where you are, but you need to be available. You need to be, at that time, you need to be somewhere where you have a computer, you've got access to the internet, you can log on to the Blackboard site for this course. And two other main points. I've been advised that when you're accessing, so we're using this tutorial, we're using something that's called Collaborate Ultra. And I have been advised that it works best in terms of getting the best out of it using the audio and the video if you use as your internet browser either Chrome, and that's what I'm using right now, it's my preferred browser, or Firefox. So for those of you who normally use Internet Explorer or Safari, if you're on a Mac, make sure that you've got Chrome or Firefox and use one of those. So that's the first important point, to make sure you've got that ready in time for our first tutorial. And the other point is, depending on where you are, it would be a good idea if you have a headset. So at least you'd need to have headphones. If you're not somewhere on your own, you've got to have headphones and ideally a headset in case if you want to be talking. Obviously, it doesn't matter if you're at home, but it's probably not the best in terms of where you can access the tutorial. Obviously, if you don't have an internet connection, you need to be on campus, then you could access the tute from the library. But it's better to be somewhere where you could, if you want to actually speak, feel that you are free to do that. Okay, so here we are on the Blackboard site. This is the page that you get to when you first come into the site, and you'll see that down on the left-hand menu here, there's this link that says online tutorial Thursday 1 to 2 p.m. So you click on that, and when you click on that, you'll see that, so we're going into Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, and you'll see that there's a list when it says show all of the upcoming sessions. You can see that Thursday 1 to 2 p.m. is listed for throughout the semester, starting from week 2. And you can see that there's a link that says join room. So click on that link. I'm not going to click on it because I've already gone into the room to set things up. But when you click on the link and you go in, it will look a little bit like, now some of the things that I'm going to show you don't look exactly the same because I'm the one who's running the session and you're a participant, then that we have slightly different features. But basically it should look like this. You can see at the moment it says to me that I'm the only one in the room, but I can still play around with this while I'm the only one in the room. So I'm just going to show you some of the features. They're all fairly obvious, fairly standard icons that I'm sure you'll be familiar with through things like Skype and Facebook, whatever, using FaceTime or whatever. So you can see for a start. So you can see I've got my photo down there, and there's a tick. That's me. And in terms of, now I'm recording this at the moment so you can hear me, but if this was a session, I would need to click on this to say share audio. So I click on that, and once I click on that, you can then hear me speaking. And you can see that the little microphone's going up and down there. So there's one for the audio, one for the video. I won't be using video a lot in the sessions that we have. I'll click on that for now so that you can see me. Now you'll see it's got a preview asking me, yep, does that look okay? Do I want to share the video? So I click on share video, and then you can. I'm now displaying using both audio and video for the session. So now I think when you do that, when you first go into the session, I've been using the system before. I think when you go into your first session, when you click on the audio and the video, you will get a message that asks you to test your audio. Now you can go into this room. That's another good point. We've got our session set up for a particular time, but you can click on that here on Blackboard, that join room link. You can click on that at any time. So feel free in the next what is it, bit less than a week before our tutorial, to go in and click on that join room and just have a little play around before our first session. And you can do things like click on the audio and video and just sort of get a little bit familiar with how things are going to run. And yeah, so I'm not going to be using the video much because, as I'll show you in a minute, I'll be displaying things as I would, using a PowerPoint, using a board, as if we were in a classroom together. But I will be using the audio all the time, and you can already use your audio too. But you don't have to. So there'll be times when I might ask a question and I'll say, who can, tell me the answer to a particular question. And I'll give you the option. And I'll show you in a minute. Well, I may as well start to do that now. If you look down the bottom right hand corner where it says Open Collaborate Panel, and you click on that, you can see that there's a few options down the bottom here. See this where it says Participants? There's only one person. I'm the only person here at the moment. When we're in a session, all of your names will be displaying up here. So I'll be able to see who has attended. And if I choose to, then I would be able to say, oh, Sally, can you tell me, the answer to this particular question or whatever. Then the first option here, you can see it's a chat option. So I already, when I was playing around before, you can see I've already put something in a question to bilabial equals bilabial. So I'm showing you there that if I ask a question where I expect you guys to sort of respond with actually, an answer, your options are, so you've got a couple of options. So we have this chat option. So I said, if I ask you, what's the place of articulation? This is the kind of questions we'll be looking at in our first tutorial on phonetics. What's the place of articulation of the sound T? And you could just type in, here I'm doing it, the answer, which is alveolar. So that's an option that I might sort of get you to type answers into the chat. Now the other button down here, these ones in the center down the bottom, this one here is to raise your hand. So if I ask a question, or if you have a question, if I'm in the middle of something and you really want to ask me a question, you don't want to understand what I'm saying or whatever, you can click on this and it says, and I will be able to see against your name. So as I've said, I've got my participant list up here, and I'll be able to see the particular person that they've raised their hand. So then I can, depending on what we're doing, I can stop and say, oh, so, John, have you got a question? Or if it happened that I actually said, okay, so who can tell me the answer to blah, blah, blah? And then you could raise your hand, and you could raise your hand and then click on share audio and actually give your answer by speaking. And now I didn't make the point yet that for the most part in the session, I'm obviously going to be leading the session, so I'll have my audio on all the time, but mostly you'll have your audio off, so we don't have a lot of noise. Everybody, and wherever you are round in the region around Newcastle, if you've all got your audio on, it'll get a bit noisy. So if you mostly leave your audio off, But then if you raise your hand and indicate that you want to actually ask a question rather than putting it in the chat, then you just click on share audio, ask a question. We might have a little bit of a discussion, and then okay, moving on to the next thing, and then you turn your audio off. Okay, so I lower my hand there now. So yeah, so we've got the chat box. Anytime if I'm saying, ask a question, can you, type in the answer, or if you've got a question at any time, it's really easy. You can just put a chat in there at any time. And as you can see, I'm the only one who's said anything so far, but it tells me and it tells you as well, who it is who asked the question. Okay, now the way that, now you don't have this button here to share content, but I've set up already, I've got a PowerPoint, and when I say share that, and this is what normally, when you come into the session, I should be in there before you, all ready to go, waiting for you to turn up. And so you should find that as soon as you enter, we say the room, that a slide like this will be up on the screen, ready to get going. And I will be in control of that. So you can see at the moment, you can see there's the slides that I've got, but normally you won't be able to see that. You'll only be able to sort of see what's on the slide there. So I've just taken it as an example. This is, what we're going to be doing in the tutorial in week 2. And I've just taken that as an example to show you the kind of things that you're going to be able to do, and how we can run the session. So as I've said, I could, if we were doing this in the class, okay, so the first question here, we're looking at in week 2. As you know now, we're going to be looking at phonetics, and in the first tutorial, we'll be doing some exercises that are all about consonants. So when you're listening to this right now, you probably don't know what a bilabial consonant is, but we'll just use this as an example. So in our first exercise, you're being asked to circle the words that begin with a bilabial consonant. Now, using this system, in fact, all of you, so in different, there's sort of the pros and the cons of us using this type of system online, is that in some cases, more than one of you can be contributing at the same time, instead of me sort of asking a particular person to answer a question or to come up on the board and write something up. So now, once I've clicked on this and I've shared this PowerPoint with you, you'll see once I did that, all of these other options, these buttons came up the top here. So you've got a select tool, there's a pointer. So if I use the pointer, then I can be saying to you, once I do that, you can see, circle the words that begin with a bilabial consonant. Well, this is one of them. So you can use a pointer to point out things, and I can be doing that in the same way that I would, be using a pointer for a PowerPoint in the classroom. You can also write on the slide, which is really useful. This is something that we'll be wanting to do. So if I say, oh, okay, so who can tell me, who can answer the first question, you can actually click on that pencil tool, and then you can say, okay, so the words that begin with a bilabial consonant, there's mat, bat, and pat are the answers. So you can actually circle and do that. If you do something wrong, now if I click on this clear button, then it clears everything. If I, so say for example, I want to do a shape, I can do an ellipse, I can make a circle around mat, select that, move it and put it there. But if I'm like, oh no, okay, so I've put it around nat, which does not begin with a bilabial consonant, then I can select that and then clear it. So that's some, useful options for you being able to engage with the exercises that we're going to be doing in the tute. So you can do it by writing, and I'll show you another different slide. where we would actually want, rather than just sort of circling, so if you have to, circle the right answer, the pencil option is great. If you actually want to write a whole word, it's a bit, if I try to write the word, click on pencil, and I try to write the word alveolar, as you can see, it's pretty slow writing with I'm using a trackpad or a mouse, whatever you're using. So we also have the option to just type in text. So with this example here, you're being asked, we've got, 5 different words here, and for each one, you can see the sound in the middle is in bold, and you're being asked to describe in terms of the features that we'll talk about in the lecture next week. We're not worrying about the answers now, we're just worrying about sort of the practicalities of what you can do. You're being asked, is the sound in the middle of father, is it voiced or voiceless? So you can write a text box. I can put the text box here, and I can type in voiced. And then I can make sure that I, move that and put it in the right spot. And then what's the place of articulation? It's, click on text again, it's dental. Click on select, make sure that I've got it in the right spot. So you can see that there's options for you engaging, and as I've said, in some ways an online tute, it's obviously not as interactive because we're not seeing each other, but in some ways it allows us to get through more in one session, because I could say, okay, Jane, you're going to do question 1, Tom, you do question 2, Fred, you do question 3, and I assign each of the questions, and you can actually, all of you, the people who I've told, be putting that information there at the same time. So we don't have to wait, take it in turns to go up to the board. So in some ways we can get through things a bit quicker than we otherwise would. Now let me just see, is there anything else? So one more thing. So as I've said, I have the option to sort of share the files, you don't. I can also share a blank whiteboard. So if, with some of the exercises, I might just want to have a blank board as if we would in a classroom. And you do have the option, just like I showed you before, clicking on text, going in there and, typing whatever it is you want to type. But you could also, other than doing that, and I'll show you an example of, something that we might get to in one of the tutes, is you could click on, you could have the answer. I could say, okay, everybody do such and such, and you could all be doing it on a Word document and then copy and paste it. Or, so we're doing phonetics at the moment, I've got here open a site which I'm going to show you. So we're talking about writing in the International Phonetic Alphabet. I could say, okay, everybody write your name in IPA. I'm not going to show you how this site works exactly at the moment, but I'm just going to roughly go through it, and I'm writing my name in IPA, Katrina. I'll click on that, and then I can highlight that, copy it, go back to our whiteboard here, put in a text box, and paste it, and there it is. So you could all be doing that at the same time and pasting on the same spot there. Okay, so I'm stopping sharing that. Just trying to think if there's anything else. I think I've covered the main. Now, one thing I have to remember, you could remind me, for those of you who've listened to this, I have to hit on start recording for those who are unable to make it to the session at the time. So I think I've showed you the basics, and I guess, some of you wouldn't have really needed that. Once you're actually into the room, you can see what's available and how things work, and we can try to sort that out in our first session. So the last thing is that when on this open session menu here, you can see right down the bottom, it gives you the option to leave the session. So when you click on that, when we get to the end of our tutorial session, you just click on leave that. It's asking me to rate how it went. I'll just say good. Yeah, no issues, submit and exit, and then it sort of just takes you out of the room and you close that and just go back to whatever you were doing. So I think that I've, been chatting for a while now. I think I've managed to cover all the points that you should need to know in probably more detail than you need. So I hope that's all clear now, and yeah, look forward to meeting you guys in our Collaborate tutorial room on Thursday in week 2 at 1 p.m. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.